Hi, my name is Joshua Xu. Today, I hope to shed some light on a YouTube video presentation produced by Tony Lin on September 24, 2021, entitled COVID Data from Singapore, First Wave 0% Vaccinated versus Second Current Wave 77% Vaccinated. As of today, this video has received over 250,000 views. For those of you who are interested in watching Tony's video, here it is. You can search for it on YouTube. The reason I'm making this video is because I believe Tony has misinterpreted the available data and therefore arriving at erroneous conclusions. I actually tried to comment on his video, sharing my views on this subject, but unfortunately he did not deem my comment to be worthy to be included in the comments in the bottom of his video. So I thought I'd make my own video to share my opinions on this. Here's a written transcript of my comments that I posted on his YouTube video. I actually did this twice, and both times my comments were deleted within the first 60 seconds of my posting those comments. I started out my comments to Tony with a statement from astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson, Dr. Tyson, who said, "One of the great challenges in life is knowing enough about a subject to think that you're right, but not enough about the subject to know you're wrong." I believe that's a fitting statement for today's times regarding the COVID-19 pandemic subject and this topic on vaccines, because there's just so much misinformation that's floating out there via the internet, the news media, and even whatever one may read on the internet. Here's a video clip of a small portion of Tony's presentation.
So you can see the first wave started March 1st, 2020. You can see the peak at 170, the 9.19. And now you see the second wave. Second wave is, you can see clearly higher than the previous wave. So number is 194. Previous high is 170. Now it's daily cases per million is 194. So clearly it's higher than the previous wave. And now let's take a look of Singapore's vaccination rate. They started the vaccination this January 2021. So as you can see, the first wave is last year March, and this I select the fully vaccinated. As you can see, this is the people who are fully vaccinated, and right now people who are fully vaccinated is 77%. So it is even higher than Israel.
Here's another short video clip of Tony's presentation or portion of it that is relevant to our discussion here.
And this data is from last March 2020. So you can see this is per million people, so that is why the number is so low. But anyway, the first wave, the peak is 0.14, 0.14, and the current peak, September, right? Today is September 24th. You can see it's 0.27. So it's almost twice as high.
Here's another portion of Tony's presentation that I would like everybody to see.
Yeah, if you see, if assume vaccine is working, let's say a vaccine is working, then how do you explain these numbers?
Tony asks a fair question. Why in the wave 2, when you have 77% people vaccinated, that you still have more deaths per million and more disease per million? Well, that's a fair question, and let me try to explain. Back in March 2000, the virus that was circulating was what is now known as the ancestral strain of COVID-19 virus. Whereas in the September 2021 case, it's mostly the Delta variant version of the COVID-19 virus. And so they're really apples and oranges, and you can't compare them. And let me explain why. The two different viruses, well, they're not different, they're just different strains of the same virus. The ancestral strain and the Delta variant strain have very different transmissibility factors, what is known as the R naught. R naught for the ancestral strain is 2.79, whereas for the Delta strain, it's 5.08. So what does that mean? The R naught number of 2.79 for the ancestral strain basically means for every infected person, the likelihood is that he will infect 2.79 persons because of the transmissibility factor of the ancestral strain. Now with an R naught of 5.08, the Delta variant has a likelihood of transmitting, each infected person has the likelihood of transmitting to 5.08 people the virus. This means that with the exponential growth of virus transmissions, in 4 generations, assume it takes about 2 weeks for 4 generations of disease transmission, and assuming we start with 1 infectious person, the ancestral strain would have infected 92.86 people. And you can add up the first generation, second generation, third generation, and the fourth generation. And for the Delta variant, 1 person would have infected 828 people. And the math works out like this right here, which assumes no one is vaccinated, of course. They are not. Now let's take into account the Singapore's high vaccination effect, which stands at about 77% of the population. This means about 22-23% are not vaccinated, and we also need to assume that about 50% of the vaccinated also get infected, because just because you're vaccinated doesn't mean that you're immune from being infected. So if we take into account all that, the 22% not vaccinated and that 50% of the vaccinated also get infected, the effective R naught, I would call it the effective R naught, for the Delta variant becomes 3.11. That is 5.08 R naught times the 22% plus 5.08 times the 77% vaccinated times half of them get infected. And the Delta variant, after 4 generations, would have infected 131 people after 2 weeks or 4 generations of transmission. So now let's go back to Tony's video presentation. His first wave has a peak of 170 cases per day, and the second wave had a peak of 194, even though there's 77% who are vaccinated. Looking at the simple analysis that I did, if we look at the 4th generation of transmission, which is right here for the ancestral strain, it would be 60 people infected from 1 person after 4 generations of transmission, whereas over here, assuming an R naught of 3.11 for the effective R naught for Delta variant, 1 person would have infected about 90 people. So 90 is still higher than 61 people. That's about a 50% higher. So the numbers that Tony presented are not surprising. I'm actually surprised that this is not even higher than the 194 that the data shows. I just thank God that the ancestral strain of the COVID-19 virus came first, rather than this godforsaken Delta variant virus. Because if the Delta variant had come first, we would have seen a lot bigger spike than what we did see with the ancestral strain. So we should be all thankful for what happened. In summary, I would just like to say that Tony's analysis of the data from Singapore is flawed because he failed to take into account the R0 differences between the ancestral strain and the Delta variant strain, which are the two spikes that he presented in his video. And because of that, I still urge people who don't believe in the vaccines to take a serious look at it. Plenty of data available on the internet from reliable sources now that vaccines prevent serious illness and death. And I think that's important. Anyway, thank you for watching this video.